and really I would always tend to see potential in people before they saw it in themselves. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of that keeps coming up in
Yep.
my life is, I can see the dream and
Mhm.
see it all unfold before
Mhm.
they can even really visualize it because there's a block there, and they're stuck in imposter syndrome and they're stuck in not having the confidence to move through it to fully go after it. And so so much of my life I've just been that cheerleader for people, and I've been that person saying you can do this and this is why, and believing in them before they believe in themselves. And sometimes we need that person, sometimes we
Yeah.
need someone to believe in us before we're able to see it. So
That's awesome. Love
yeah,
it.
okay. Awesome. So I would love to just jump in and, so I don't have a script. It's just really about sharing what you want to share. And
Okay.
I love to get into, the pieces of it that maybe aren't so beautiful, the pieces of like what got you there, and like and there's always a story behind the story. You know what I mean? Like there's always like I don't I love this I love, like, seeing the final product and all of it's beautiful, but, like, how did you actually build this thing, and what did you have to go through, and what obstacles, and, like, what did you have to overcome? Like, that is the really cool part, I think, because people that haven't started yet are stuck in, like, "Well, I have to do this, and how do I do
Mhm.
that, and how do I move through this and that?" So, I would just love to just dive into, like, tell us about you, and how did you start this business, and kind of where's it going?
Yeah. Okay. So let's start here. I'm Robin. I am Texas born and bred. Are you from Texas as well?
Yes. Yeah, Fort Worth.
Yeah. I'm in Houston. Yeah.
Okay,
So Texas born
cool.
and bred. And I have always, I learned this about myself a little bit later on in life, that I have always been a little bit like you, Robin, where maybe there's something about being named Robin and, kind of having an understanding of people. But I've always found myself becoming an advocate for people who really can't speak for themselves. A good origin story, I guess you can say, is that when I was in, I want to say high school, there I had some friends and some of them were not as popular. And I remember one time taking up for somebody because, somebody was saying something, whatever it was, like, oh, he's eating Cheetos. Like it was probably something so very high school, right? But in hindsight, I saw one of my classmates again as an adult, and they were like, you were the person that basically helped me feel seen because you took up for me and you saw yourself, you saw me and helped me understand that it's okay for me to be myself, right? So fast forward to when I'm an adult and I have children, my son came up to me. He told me he wanted to be an astronaut, and I was not in the mentality of like creator or any of these things. I was in regular mom mode, right? Like just being a mom, doing my normal thing. And then when he asked me to be an astronaut, and I was like, okay, cool, I got you, right? And then I started looking and I didn't find anything that looked like him. It didn't represent my son, right? So I'm like, okay, and my son is a chocolate drop like me, right? So I realized I need to do something for him. And I think that that same mentality of like, okay, like let me just say speak up for somebody who can't speak for himself at this point popped up, and I didn't know it at that point, right? So I decided I was going to create something, and I could not figure out what to create. And the day that I was like, I'm going to do something, I don't care what it is, I was hungry. And I was in the kitchen, I kid you not. And I was looking down, making plates, and I was like, huh, it's not a toy. And I was like, huh, right? Like these kind of thought processes, like, this makes sense. So basically went through the process of looking for manufacturers, learning how to basically play those games, that come with starting a small business and having absolutely no extra income to start this business, right? Like it wasn't like
Yeah.
I said, oh, let me save up 20,000 before I start. No, it was like, all right, what do we need to eat for groceries? Okay, great. Can I do without the cookies this week? Fine. I will do my best to do without the cookies, right? And then I started Colorfull Plates. So that's how it started.
Wow, that's incredible. I love that. And I love like just the downloads you get, of like, okay, let me just like use my imagination. Let me be creative. Let me just kind of see where this takes me, because I get these random ideas or random thoughts, and it's like eventually in a few weeks it becomes something. So that's so cool. Okay,
Yeah,
what were
and
you
I guess
doing?
go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, and I was gonna say, and I guess for me, those thoughts come best when I'm fasting because I was hungry. I was hungry. So I'm gonna try my best to always like write down ideas when I know that I need to eat.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, I was gonna say, so what were you doing before you created the plates? Were you like full-time stay-at-home mom? Were you working full-time? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, I have always worked full time. I have been in the marketing industry for a very long time, basically since I graduated from college, doing events and internal marketing, external marketing, and then also anything in terms of communications, right? So I'm dealing with talking to a lot of different people, both from a consumer standpoint and then also from a business standpoint, helping them learn how to take action and learn how to move and help them understand what's important to them. So I feel like my background set me up a bit for success in order to set the stage to have colorful plates. I won't say that it set me up that I don't make mistakes because that's not the case at all.
Mhm.
But it definitely helped out a lot.
That's cool. And so are you still working full-time and doing the business, or did you jump from full-time employee to full-time business owner?
Yeah, so I will say that it's always been a gradual jump. I'm not a firm believer in just quit your job. I have kids, I have a husband, we have a house, and I want to make sure that we maintain that stability. So
Yeah.
for me, it's always been do what's best for you. A lot of people will kind of put that mantra out there like, you're not a real entrepreneur if you don't have a full time job. That is not the truth. Do not let people fool you. There are some people out there who are entrepreneurs who are doing so well and they probably don't even have a couch in their house, right? So I don't play by those rules. I just say do what's best for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I think that that's so important just in so many other aspects of life too. You get to define what it looks like for you. You get to define what success looks like. You get to define what your life looks
Mhm.
like. And having that, like just knowing that gives you so much freedom and gives you like this sense of peace. It doesn't have to look like anybody else and it probably shouldn't, you know?
Yeah. If you're copying by somebody else's footprint, it's not going to work. It
Yeah,
just
you've got
won't.
to do your own thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so tell me, like, let's get into a little bit more of you have the idea, like, what are your first kind of few steps? How do you make this idea like a reality? How do you move through and find the manufacturers and get it into production? And how do you get that to the place where it is today?
Yeah. So I will say baby steps was probably I say baby steps, but I am not a baby stepper, if that makes any sense. Like I believe in baby steps, but when it comes to me, I'm like, no, I have to jump from one mountaintop to the other one, right? But I fell into a lot of valleys. So I started off basically using the World Wide Web and utilizing the Google to help me with, finding manufacturers. And I did not have a lot of resources in terms of other business owners, even if they weren't in that same field to like reflect off of. So this is kind of like going back in hindsight kind of thing. I would have definitely found a business community
Mm.
first, like when I first started, just to start asking tons of questions because I would have eliminated a lot of mistakes. So for me, it was I went out, I literally found manufacturers across the United States. I had several of them that I just had to start having discussions with, right? And basically, they were asking questions like, well, how many items do you want to produce? And I'm like, just one, please, just a prototype. And they're like, that'll be $5,000. Okay, thank you. Have a great day.
Oh my
Right.
god.
So I finally found two manufacturers that were like, yeah, we can work with you. We work with small businesses all the time. So my first step was sitting down, kind of drawing out my idea, fleshing it out. And then from there, I got my prototype created. So I use my children as my test market. I still do. I put the plate down in front of them and they're like, it's me. That's what my son said. I'm like, boom, like, yes, it worked. This is what I wanted. So I showed it to other parents and they're like, man, they kind of got these faces of like sorrow, like, sure do wish that there was one that looked like my kid, right? And I'm like, okay, so clearly there's a market for this, right? So
Yeah.
that was on my next step, was really talking to other people about what they felt like their children needed, right? What do your kids watch? What do they eat? How do y'all eat dinner? All those kind of things. So I basically just asked tons and tons of questions. And that was really kind of my process, like to really just launch myself. I didn't go through and make a business plan. You know, a lot of people say go through and start your business plan and sit down and write that 10 to 30 page document of, you know, what your plans are. I had no plans, literally. You know, like I'm working off of an empty stomach and, you know, kids that are on my back, right? So I
Yeah.
had to just kind of figure out like what was the best way for me to do this. And for me, it was like, just go. Literally, just take your steps and just go. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay, because the only person that's putting pressure on me is me, right?
Yeah.
Like, who else is going to push me or who's going to stop me?
Right. I love that so much. And I think that sometimes the big business plan almost paralyzes people, because that either like puts it off, it gives them an excuse to like, oh, well, I don't have my business plan, so I can't do anything yet. I got to figure out all these millions of steps and things. And it's like, it's almost sometimes better for certain people to just do it messy, just start, see where it takes you. I'm really learning that recently, is like, that's my whole motto, like this whole year is like, just do it messy and learn and grow, because if you wait until it's going to be perfect, it will never happen. Like it will never
Exactly.
happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a business partner as well. And I always say, hey, perfect is our enemy. Just so okay, good is our best friend. Like, let's just put it down and move it forward. And I always have to remind myself, like, there are huge companies out there that put products out that are not perfect, and we still consume them. We still give them passes. And they make mistakes all the time, and we say, oh, it's okay. So why is it that I'm not allowed to do that? Please.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you always had this have you always had this belief in yourself that you can do these things? Like, where did that come from? Like, tell me about like your childhood. Did you, grow up in a family where, they instilled that in you, or how did you become a person that like really is motivated and knows that you can do all these things?
That is a great question. I don't know all the answers to that question, but I will say I grew up in a single parent household. My mother is a teacher. She was a teacher most of my life. She just switched careers and she's still in childhood development. Her grit and hard work really helped me understand, like, you know, just kind of put your head down and get your work done.
Mm.
She got both of her degrees, her undergraduate and her graduate degree, on a teacher's salary. And she's also into basically childhood development from K through 12, right? So she probably also helped me grow, you know, into being
Yeah,
this person that I am. But I've also always had, I guess you can say I've always liked doing stuff for myself, but not necessarily knowing that I was meant to be an entrepreneur. A good example of that is when I was like 7 or 8 years old, I started like a Cool Cup business. So here in Texas, that's like making Kool-Aid, putting it in the little old school wax covered dentist cups, popping them in the freezer, right? And I used to sell those in my neighborhood, and I had all of the kids in the neighborhood buying from me. Some of them would come to me like on Saturday morning with their allowance and say, here's $1, because they were 25 cents each. Here's $1. Save, you know, like I would just want you to always have them on hand. So when I come, I just can take one out of my stock, right? Like, so I had people who like said, like, here's my deposit. I'm gonna take it from there. So, you know, I was that kid doing that, and I got fancy with it, all types of stuff, have fun. But, you know, in hindsight, wow, why was I doing that? I have no idea. I wasn't forced to make my own money. I wasn't, you know, told, hey, you need to get out there and do something with your life. It was just like, just gonna sell some cool cups, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so that's kind of who I am. But my mom had a lot to do with that. And I will say that I think I've always just kind of been like, you know what, it's gonna be me that does it for myself, or and I can't accept uh waiting on somebody else to do it.
absolutely. Yep. I can so relate to that because my mom was a single mom as well, and she was very codependent with men, and so seeing that growing up, I knew that I did not want that, and so I knew that I had to be successful on my own, and I never wanted to depend on anyone else, for financial stability or emotional stability, any of it. Like, I knew that I had to stand on my own and be strong enough to support myself. So that's kind of where that came from, but that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's awesome. Yeah. And
Yeah, I
mom,
love
and
that.
just like as a disclaimer to my mama, hey, like, you know, she was only really focused on us. Like she never had a boyfriend or any, like to my knowledge, that around us.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was more or less like, hey, little girl, like, you know, what do you want to do? Are you, she's creative by nature, but she's like a sewer and those kind of things. Like she can do stuff with her hands that I can never do. But, you know, maybe just seeing her be able to create like that and just kind of let it go and not worry about it. Like she'll make quilts and just be like, I'm just gonna freehand, right? And it comes out beautiful with this chaotic mess, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like allowed me to be open to like, it is what it is, right? Like I'm not
Mhm.
perfect. I don't plan on being perfect. So I'm just gonna jump.
I love that. That's so cool. So being a mom now, I have 3 kiddos. I'm so aware of like, what am I doing? What am I teaching them? How am I leading by example? And it's like just being cautious and like aware of knowing that things that I'm doing are impacting them and shaping them and into the person that they're going to be. And I think part of me, because I am like this developer and I love like bringing the best out of people, I see myself trying to do that in my kids, like develop, their skills and what do they really love and helping them to understand that it's limitless, they can do whatever they want
Mhm.
and it can change and you can change your mind and all of those things. So it's been fun and I'm trying not to like put too much pressure on myself because I hear all these stories about, people's childhood traumas and like what their parents said or did and it affects their whole life and you're like, that's a lot. That's
It
a
is.
lot
It's
of
a lot to
pressure.
hold on to. It's a lot to
Yeah.
hold on to. I mean, I think I learned a phrase, and my family knows I say this a lot, right? But like this phrase, these 3 words, I don't know why, but they changed my life. You are allowed. Like you are allowed. If you want to do that, you are allowed. You want to be an astronaut, you're allowed. You don't want to eat your vegetables, okay, give it a try your best, but you know, like you understand your body and you're allowed to listen to your body. If your body's like, I don't like green beans, there might be a reason for it. Come to find out, might be allergic to it, right? Like you have no idea. So it's like you just have to kind of be open like that. And I try to do that with my children. I do have some boundaries, of course, like
Mhm.
every parent does, but I mean, yeah, it's important to me that they understand that they have the freedom to become who they want to be, right? Like there's no limitations in our house. So if you say, I really think I just want to be a geologist, all right, cool, let's go find some rocks to dig up. Where do we need to go? Let's
Mhm.
jump in.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's like letting them explore and be creative and then supporting whatever it is and knowing that it could change tomorrow or it could change in a week.
Absolutely.
Like my son, he's 12 and he's really big into hockey and he tells us like and this is his like big passion. I mean, he tried all the sports and didn't stick with anything. And finally tried hockey of all things in Texas. Like hockey is like not
Right.
that easily defined, but we did hockey and he loves it and he wants to be an NHL player. And I'm like,
Nice.
great. And I believe that he can. And I have this faith. And it's like, people like parents always talk about like the stats of like, oh, it's 0.5% of people of kids go and actually become an NHL player. And I'm like, I don't buy into that. I don't listen. Like I can't hear that because I'm like, okay, so what? Like if he works at it, if he loves the sport and he puts in the work and the time and all of the things that he could do it, why not? Like why not?
Yeah.
But, like,
Yeah.
parents shut their kids down all the time too, like, oh, even if they don't say it directly to the kid, they're still saying it to other people and they hear, and then they're like, "Oh, well, I can't because nobody really makes it."
Yep. And it's ingrained in there. It's ingrained in their little hearts for life. Yeah, I don't play those games. Like if they say something, even if it's off the wall, okay, cool. Let me see you do some work on it. Let me know when you
Yeah,
need help, right? Like that's it.
absolutely. And it's like you have to have that faith in your kids and show that you believe in them, because that's I think that that's where they first build their own confidence in themselves, you know? And then yeah, put in the work. I mean, and he's always been the driving factor of his hockey career, you know? He's the one that doesn't want to miss practice and is sick but still wants to go play games, and like he's all in it. So as long as he is committed, I'm committed to that. So I just think that's so interesting. I hear so many parents like, oh well, none of these kids are gonna make it. Like I'm like,
Yeah, okay, speak for
no.
yourself, right?
Yeah,
We speak life into our kids over here. Like, if there is nobody else in this world that should be speaking life into them, it should be us, right?
absolutely.
Because we
Yeah.
can't expect somebody who doesn't know our child to speak life into them, because they might just see him and be like, oh, that kid, look at him. He's got his shoes on the wrong feet. He's not going anywhere. And it's like, well, I mean, we left the house late today, you know, like you never
Yeah,
know. It could be something as small as that. So I try to
absolutely.
speak life over here,
I
not just
love
my
that.
kids. I mean, that's why I started Colorfull Plates, right? So it's like it could open those doors to those conversations, you know, in a positive light. So
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay, let's get back into Colorful Plates. And so you've created the business, like you did the website. Like how do you find customers? How do you build business? You know, how do you get your name out there? And then also like get all of these awards and get, you know, all of this visibility. Like how did you grow that?
So I will say a lot of people, and you'll talk to a lot of different business owners in general. I haven't done any marketing. I just started like within like the last 3 months, or I'll say 4 months of Colorfull Plates. To me, it's all about building relationships, right? So I started, my first customers clearly were friends and family, right? Who had kids. And then asking them to help me do stuff like post it on social media, or tag somebody else who may like this. And that's really how I started my business. And then I did a lot of research and did a lot of learning and education surrounding how I needed to pitch my business to the media, right? So a lot of what I've done over the past years has been an extreme learning curve. Um, just because what you learn in school is different from real life, right? Um, and building relationships with people has been the most important part of me being a business owner, right? Because people can love your product, but if they talk to you and they're not able to really connect with you, then it really can help you down the line, right? And I want to be able to be the person one day that's in a room and I can speak on somebody else's business who can't be in that room. So I want to develop my relationships now for somebody to be able to do that for me, because if not, I won't be able to elevate and help other people later on down the line.
Absolutely. I love that. Um, what would you say is your why? What do you go back to? What is your mission? What is your big why for how you stay motivated in the business?
Yeah. So I have two big whys, right? So one of them is freedom. And a lot of people say freedom all the time. When I say freedom, I mean literal freedom. If I decide that I want to pick up and be able to financially go and take a vacation or a girls trip or take my mom somewhere, I'd love to be able to do that. But the bigger part of this is that I get to help people, right? So that's my big why. So I get to help my children develop into the people that they want to be. I get to help other caretakers and parents really start those conversations and basically just change a trajectory without even understanding or knowing that they could possibly be creating the world's next president, right? Just by putting that plate down there. And then that gives me the opportunity to give back. So another why for me is being able to give back when I feel without hesitation. So
I
that's
love
a big
that.
one for me. Yeah.
I love that so much. I think that it's important, especially as entrepreneurs, to have to have those whys and go back to that in the hard times, because you know you can't always be motivated. It just isn't going to happen. So it's like going back to the why keeps your momentum going,
Yeah.
whenever maybe things get tough. So that's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I love that. What's next? Like, what are you currently working on in the business? Like, what's next for you? What are some big goals this year that you guys have?
Whew. Okay, so last year was a big year for us because we actually debuted like another branch of our company, right? So if you go to colorfulplates.com, you'll see our plates there. That is a very high-end premium product. You can personalize it with your name. Those you can put those tableware. Those plates you can put in the microwave. You can put that in the dishwasher. It's oven safe, right? So it's like this really good,
So
convenient,
amazing.
hello,
Yeah.
right? Amazing product, right? So we have that, but we also had one really big issue that happened at the beginning of the pandemic. And we didn't really talk about this, so I'll just delve into it quickly. But basically, because we were so new, our manufacturer was like, hey, you're too small for me to manufacture. We're putting you at the bottom of the barrel, right? And that's not okay. That's not okay. So that was a big obstacle for us to work through, because if our manufacturer says you're too small for me, what do? You're stuck in the water, right? So my business partner and I, we made a decision that we wanted to be able to keep this brand, but we also wanted to be able to expand our brand. So if somebody goes into a store, a grocery store, a Walmart, a Target, wherever it may be, that child can walk down the tableware aisle and see colorful plates on a shelf. So it's
Yeah.
also ready-made. So over the past year, we introduced our ready-made line, and our goal this year is to expand on that, so that way we have an opportunity to have a personalized plate for people who really want an heirloom product, and then also to have a ready-made set. So that way, let's say, for example, you're out of town but your kid really misses their colorful plate. Hey, drop into the store, pick it up. You will have something, so that way they can have that comfort. It's a great gift. All of those things that come alongside with having something that you can buy on a store shelf. So that's where we're moving at right now. Like, we're working on that. It's a really big endeavor. Never done this before, so I'm on a learning curve once again. But I'm really excited about it, because basically we get to expand our brand to so many more people, right? And I get to start this conversation with so many more people. So I'm really excited about it.
That is so exciting. Oh, I love it. I can't wait to just stay connected and just continue to watch the journey, and of the business and see where it goes, because possibilities are endless. And
Yeah,
it's
they
so
are.
cool that like it's plates, but it has such a deep meaning and it has such a great impact, for these kids and for their lives and the parents, and it's really amazing. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, what would you like? I'm getting like teary-eyed.
Girl, let it out. It's okay. You are allowed. You are
Thank you.
allowed.
Thank you. I'm gonna steal that. I love that. Um, what would you say to the woman out there that wants to do something, but they don't know where to start, or they're like fearful, or they don't think they're good enough, or they don't think that they have what it takes? Like, what advice would you give them?
Yeah. So as a personal story, there have been times in my life when I have said something out loud, even in a work environment, and I have not been acknowledged. Right. So one of the things that, and this is how I relate to colorful plates, and I'm gonna try to make this fast. I know we're running out of time here.
Good.
But back in the day, let's go back, go to like 1700s, 1800s. People could not see themselves, right? There were no self-portraits then, right? Because there was no mirror invented. So the only way that people got to see themselves, if somebody described to you what you looked like to them, or you happened to go past the pond, which was absolutely still, which, what are the odds of that happening, where you
Yeah.
could see your reflection, right? So move forward in time and somebody invents a mirror. So people are able to see themselves, how they're reflected back, right? Like, you finally get to see yourself, right? And that's how I look at colorful plates. That's how I look at life, right? Like, it's basically a mirror, right? You get to see yourself how you really dream to be yourself.
Mhm.
And when it comes to starting a business, a lot of women feel unseen. They feel like their thoughts are not valid. And I want them to internalize standing in a mirror, looking at themselves and being like, I see you, I believe in you, and you need to take the next step. Right.
Yeah.
So I would say to anybody who feels like that, you are not alone. which is going back to what I said in the beginning part of the podcast. Find a group of women who are starting off at the same level as you, because your insecurities are not just yours. They
Absolutely.
are not just yours, right? Take one step, and by the time you make it to 10 steps, you're going to be like, dang, I learned a lot and I've moved through this process. And it's very scary. It's very scary. But there are opportunities for growth if you literally just take one step. So just jump into it. Don't be scared. If you are scared, email me. We can schedule a call. I'll just talk to you and be like, what's going on? All right.
Yes.
And we can break it down and make it really simple, right? Like that's what you
Hmm.
need to do. Take your
Yeah.
baby steps if you need to. But you'll realize that you probably are jumping from mountaintop to mountaintop to mountaintop once you look back and be like, I thought I was taking baby steps and you were not,
Yeah. Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
love that so much. And it's like something else that keeps coming up for me is that it's not that far away. You know what I mean? I think before we start the thing, it's like it feels like, oh my gosh, that's 10 years from now. That's, over here. It actually isn't that far away, like you're closer than you think once you just start
Mhm.
going. So I love that so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, and I would also say trust yourself, right? Like a lot of people who are at the beginning or want to start some journey are like, I don't know if I can trust myself, but I mean, if you can't trust you, who do you expect to trust you, right? Like you
Mhm.
have to trust yourself. Just take one step in the direction that your gut is telling you to go and you'll feel better.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. Okay, is there anything else that you want to share that we haven't touched on?
No, I think we touched on
Okay.
everything. I mean, I definitely I'll send you over a code so that way if you have anybody who's listening who wants to order, I'll send over a code just for your listeners and your viewers.
Oh, that'd be great.
Um yeah, no, I appreciate your time. It's so nice to meet another Robin from
Yes,
Texas. Hey
I
girl.
know.
Um
We're so
and
awesome.
yeah, I appreciate, you just having me on and hearing my perspective. I
Yeah,
appreciate
of
it.
course. Oh my gosh, I love your story. Oh my God, I love you so much and I really want to stay connected and if there's anything that I can do to help you and your business, definitely let me know. The podcast is growing. It's just organically like don't do a whole lot of marketing or anything either, but like just organically growing. And so I'm hoping that this will reach a lot of people and will inspire, them to start their next thing. Um Tell us where people can find you, find Colorful Plates, and connect with you.
Yeah, so the easiest way is either through our website, which is colorfullplates.com. That's colorful, FULL, as in a full life, colorfullplates.com. Or on Instagram, we are colorful_plates. Those are the easiest way to find us. I think my personal account is connected to the Colorful Plates account, so you can find me there too. But yeah, that's how you find Colorful Plates. We are around, we're having fun over table stuff, just having conversations and chilling and trying to eat healthy, all that good
Yes,
stuff.
all the good things. Well, thank you so much. And I will link all of those links in the show notes so people can easily find you.